What's been on the pod? All right. I want to begin. I don't know if I'll read the whole thing. I highly doubt it, but at least start it. Um, Serge Monast, the greatest hoax, NASA's Project Blue Beam. And this is about Serge. Serge Monast, 1945 to 1996, was a Canadian investigative journalist, poet, and essayist. He is known to English-speaking readers mainly for Blue Beam Project. He was an active member of the Social Credit Party of Canada. In the early 1900s, he started writing on the theme of the New World Order and conspiracies hatched by secret societies, being particularly inspired by the works of William Guy Carr. He founded the International Free Press Agency, AIPL, Agency Internationale de Presse Libre, where he published most of his work on these themes, achieving some prominence with an interview on esoterist and ufologist Richard Glynn's TV show, in which he repeatedly warned his audience about the dangers of a world government. In 1994, he published Lee Project Blue Beam Project, in which he detailed his claim that NASA, with the help of the United Nations, was attempting to implement a New Age religion with the Antichrist at its head and start a new world order via a technologically simulated second coming of Christ. He also gave talks on this topic. In 1995, he published his most detailed work, Les Protocoles de Toronto 666, modeled upon the protocols of the Elders of Zion. I have read both of these. I just finished the Toronto Protocols, and then the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. You'll have to search for it. I'm not positive if YouTube has taken it down. I'm not positive, so look it up. Wherein he said a Masonic group called 666 had for 20 years been gathering the world's powerful to establish a new world order and control the minds of individuals. By 1995 and 1996, Monast said he was being hunted by the police and authorities for involvement in networks of prohibited information. He died of a heart attack in his home in December 1996 at age 51, the day after being arrested and spending a night in jail under very strange and suspicious conditions. They actually have a heart attack machine. Many people don't even know that, but the government does. They can make you have a heart attack from afar without touching you. Introduction. The infamous NASA, National Aeronautics and Space Administration, Blue Beam Project has 4 different steps in order to implement the New Age religion with the Antichrist at its head. We must remember that the New Age religion is the very foundation for the New World Government, without which religion, the dictatorship of the New World Order is completely impossible. I'll repeat that. Without a universal belief in the New Age religion, the success of the New World Order will be impossible. That is why the Blue Beam Project is so important to them, but has been so well hidden until now. This is transcript of a presentation given by Serge Monast on NASA's Project Blue Beam, 1994. So what would be that? What would that be? That's like 30 some odd years ago. All right. This is the International Free Press in Canada. Address given no longer valid. International Free Press Network, P.O. Box 177, Magog, Quebec, Canada, J1X3W8. The International Free Press Network is not a religious group, neither a political organization, but an independent worldwide investigation press agency in the field of politics, economic, medical, and military. We specialize ourselves in investigating and publishing special reports and audio tapes to expose the underworld of the United Nations conspiracy to implement a new world order. Our task is to make the people realize that the coming of the New World Order is not a dream, neither a paranoid thought. It is a real satanic It is a real satanic undergoing project. For what? To abolish all Christian traditional religions in order to replace them by a one world religion based on the cult of man. To abolish all national identity and national pride in order to establish a world identity and world pride. To abolish the family as known today in order to replace it by individuals all working for the glory of one world government. To destroy all individual artistic and scientific creating works to implement a world government's one mind sight. And that kind of declaration of war from the United Nations is for the implementation of a universal and obligatory membership to the United Nations as transcending of the United Nations by multiple or multi-military and multi-police force. A worldwide Justice Department through the United Nations with an international criminal court. A worldwide new trade agreement for all nations. The end of Cold War, of local war like it is today, and the obligation for coexistence for peace. And also a new world religion and a new world culture for all men. If we really wish to understand the Blue Beam Project, NASA's Blue Beam Project, where is that from? We have to go back to the dawning of the age of Aquarius. Remember that song? That song said, when the moon is in the 7th house and Jupiter aligns with Mars, and peace will guide our planet and love will steer the stars. This related with the year 1982 to be at that time the opening of the conspiracy for the age of Aquarius. Just before the implementation of the New World Order, supposed to start at that time in 1983, and I have to say that the Blue Beam Project was set up for the year 1983. It has been delayed at that time. We don't know exactly why, but since 1983 makes 11 years, they've really improved themselves with new technology and through space that enable them right now to make their space show possible. So the goals of the New Age movement under which the United Nations operates right now are the implementation of a new world Messiah. The tools of the new world government are a multinational army, an international army, an international police force, a World Bank for the economy, a world government under the United Nations, a world conservative bank for wilderness around the world. That means that all green movements will be melded into this new international bank or will disappear. A world religion where all church doctrines will be destroyed at the roots to be replaced by the new religion of the age of Aquarius. The world's 7 rate classifications for all men and women, the new paradise, they said, where everybody will have a predetermined work to fill out whether they agree or not. The World Concentration Camp headquarters at the United Nations for those who will not accept the new system. The World Agricultural Culture and Food Supply Control, which will control food and vitamin supplies all around the world. The New World Order will be an in-between government system from old USSR, Great Britain and its commonwealths, and the actual United States with its melting pot population. This is, at the end, a new spiritual political world order which will replace the old one in which we live right now. What are the New World Order plans? They plan the destruction of all people who believe in the Bible, who worship Jesus Christ, and the complete disappearance of Christianity to achieve this plan. The New World Order will change nations' laws in order that Christian religious beliefs and symbols, like the cross, for instance, will become unlawful. Only Easter and Christmas, for instance, will be replaced by New Age festivities around the world. The New World Order plans also the abolishment of all currencies and the transfer to electronic cash through the superhighway, what we call also the electronic highway. The thinker and the basic doctrine books of the New Age conspiracy for the New World Government are, and listen to the name of those people, because all the new way of thinking of the New World Order are from these people, or those people. Those authors who wrote different kinds of books, which are the basic belief of the New Age movement. Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, who wrote Isis Unveiled and the Secret Doctrine. Alice A. Bailey, who wrote The Race and the Initiation and the Externalization of the Hierarchy. Also, Initiation, Human and Solar. The Reappearance of the Christ, their Christ is the new Messiah. The Destiny of the Nations, in which they plan what they're going to do with the actual nation state. The Unfinished Autobiography, Discipleship in the New Age, Esoteric Psychology. That's a writing of Alice Bailey, very important for all New Age thinkers who are exactly the ones who plan the New World Order. Also, the writing of Nicholas Roerich wrote Maitreya, that's their new Messiah. Shambhala, the Replesident, the Agni Yogi series. I'm sorry. Also, the writing of David Spangler, who wrote Revelation. It's this man, and she's going to touch on several people, probably, or he, not she, but Billy Graham was associated with this David Spangler. Billy Graham was associated with a lot of these people, a lot of them. So let's go back. Also, the writing of David Spangler, who wrote Revelation, The Birth of a New Age, considered as a valuable insight to the New Age movement. Reflections on the Christ, which is related to the Luciferian initiation. Links with space, which relate as supposed to a big space show in which aliens are supposed to come to save men. Relationship and identity, the loss of manifestation, not the loss, but the laws of manifestation. New Age, question mark. And toward a planetary vision, which is directly related with the New World Order as they plan it to be. Now, what do those people also plan? And as I said before, this is not a dream and this is not paranoid thinking. This is real. So they plan to accept the New World Order. People will have to accept first the New World Religion. To enter into the New World Religion, the Christians will have to abdicate their own beliefs. So as they said, especially Benjamin Creme, David Spangler, Alice Bailey, Helena Blavatsky, all said that the initiation will be on a world basis inside the new organized Christian church and is a Masonic lodge and order organization. Let me reread that. So as they said, especially Benjamin Creme, David Spangler, Alice Bailey, Helena Blavatsky, all said that the initiation will be on a world basis inside the new organized Christian church and is a Masonic lodge and order organization. It will be based on a Luciferian initiation. So what we have to understand here is it won't be possible for someone who will hold tight to his own Christian beliefs to get into the New World Order. That will be impossible. For those who will not accept the NWO, who will reject it, the New Age people, the New Ager, the New World Order people, which is the same, they plan concentration camps, re-education camps. For those camps, they made what is known to be the rainbow color classification of the New World Order prisoner. The rainbow considered as the bridge symbol leading to the satanic world of the New World Order. We already do know, for instance, that everybody will have to take an oath to Lucifer with a ritual initiation in order to cross that bridge into the New World Order. All resistors to that initiation, as they plan, will definitely be sent to detention facilities where they will be separated in different categories. That's what they call the rainbow color classification of the New World Order prisoner. Classification of Christian children, as they plan it, are to be used as human sacrifice, where, within the black mass ceremonies, they will participate in any kind of sexual orgy. some to be kept as sexual slaves. Classification 2, which is the classification of prisoners to be used in medical experiments where drugs and new technologies will be tested on humans. The third classification is the classification of healthy prisoners for the International Human Organ Center, where their vital organs will be removed one by one, while they will be maintained in life with special life support systems. Classification 4, for all healthy underground workers, the New World Order is a basic worldwide dictatorship based on the Luciferian religion. A dictatorship with the appearance of an international democracy. In order to maintain that democracy illusion, camps and slave labor will be hidden from the populations of the earth. Just remember, for instance, how Hitler covered up the maternity in the concentration camp in his time. Classification 5, which is the classification of uncertain prisoners in the International Re-Educational Center, where they will be re-educated in order to represent themselves on the worldwide TV, and where they will learn how to glorify the virtues of the New World Order for humanity. Classification 6, which is the International Execution Center. We're still waiting for details on the 7th rate classification, as well as we're still waiting for proof on the color classification for each prisoner section. Now, those people, this is what they plan in their new paradise world. So you have to understand that when I decided to release about 6 months ago some tiny parts of information concerning their most secret project, which is the NASA Blue Beam Project, I was not sure at that time if I would survive my stand against the New World Order's most sophisticated project, set up to put down on their knees all men of all nations, cultures, and religions. But now, following my own Christian conscience, my real and deep love for all of my unknown brothers and sisters in America and other parts of the world, I fully accept to give my life. It that has to be the case. I think it means if. I fully accept to give my life if that has to be the case for the truth, for Jesus Christ, by releasing for the first time ever the 4 major steps of the Satellite Blue Beam Project. What I ask to everyone who will read and hear the description following, it is not to be paralyzed by their natural fear, but to spread every word of the contents of this 90-minute audio tape, and to gather together in order to pray, to think, and to plan different ways they will organize themselves to survive the New World Order government shutdown and power taking. Because what we have to understand is the New World government won't be something permanent, immortal. This is not the case. But what we have to do and what we have to think right now is how to organize ourselves to survive such tyranny, such satanic plans. Now, the famous NASA Blue Beam Project has 4 different steps, 4 parts toward the implementation of the New World religion with the Antichrist at its head. And we must remember that the New World religion is the basic foundation for the New World government. Without that New World religion, such government, such worldwide dictatorship is completely impossible. That's why the project is so not only so important to them, but was so well kept secret to now. The first step concerns the breakdown of all archaeological knowledge. It deals with the setup of earthquakes at certain precise locations of the planet where supposedly new discoveries will suddenly explain for them the wrong meaning of all major religion basic doctrine. This classification, used to make the population believe that all religious doctrines have been misunderstood and misinterpreted, have already started with the field of psychological preparation for populations. For the first step has been prepared through films like 2001, A Space Odyssey, the series Star Trek, Star Wars, which deals with space invasion and space protection, and the last film, Jurassic Park, dealing with a theory of evolution. Now, which is important to understand in that first step, is that those earthquakes will hit at different parts of the world where scientists and archaeological teachings have been taught in the past, where supposedly there were some hidden secrets. By those kinds of earthquakes, it will be possible for them to rediscover again, supposedly, rediscover again those kinds of secrets, and those secrets are meant to discredit all the religious basic doctrines. Just like, here they're saying, what are they saying about, oh, they found Jesus buried underneath the pyramids, and just a whole bunch of other stuff. These Dead Sea Scrolls, guys. There's so many things that the Shroud of Turin. I mean, I could go on and on and on. If these things were authentic, they wouldn't be bringing them out. They would be hiding it. But these things are on the forefront in order to deceive. To deceive who? Mainly those that are Christian. That's what I believe. Could I be wrong? You betcha. Because you know what? I'm fallible man. I don't know it all, but this is what I am understanding. So you don't got to take that to the bank there. Now, which is important to understand in that first step, is that those earthquakes will hit at different parts of the world where scientists and archaeological teachings have been taught in the past, where supposedly there were some hidden secrets. By those kinds of earthquakes, it will be possible for them to rediscover again, supposedly, okay, rediscover again those kinds of secrets, and those secrets are meant to discredit all the religion's basic doctrines. This is the first preparation for the plan for humanity, because what they want to do is to throw down, to shake up the beliefs of all Christians on the planet. And they're doing that pretty well with the Mandela effect, too, just to let y'all know. And to do that, they need some false proof, supposedly from the past and from the far past, that will prove to men and women their religions are false. The second step deals with a gigantic space show with three-dimensional optical holograms and sounds, laser projections of multiple holographic images to different parts of the world, each receiving different images according to predominating regional, national religious faith. This new God's image will be talking in all languages. Now, to understand that, we have to go back a little bit in different Secret Services research done in the last 25 years, like this one. The Soviets have manufactured the advanced computer, even imported and fed them with the minute cyclical particular base under studies about the anatomy and the biology of the human body, and the studies about the anatomy, the chemistry, and the electricity of the human brain. These computers were fed, these computers were fed as well with the different languages and their meanings. The dialect of people have been fed from the Nature Truth satellite. The Soviets started to feed the computer with objective programs like the one's New Messiah. It also seems that the Soviets now, the New World Order people, to suicidal methods with the human society by allocating an electronic wave on every mind for many persons in different societies. Now, there are two different things in that second part, the space show, and where that space show comes from. The space show, the holographic imaging, will be used in a simulation of the ending, in which you are given scenes with focus on fulfillment of that which is a desire for you to protect, to fit the needs of those adversary. The results of this deliberately staged false Christ will be for the implementation of a new universal religion. Enough tricks will be foisted on us to hook us into the lie. The project is the ability to take up a whole bunch of people as in a rapture type of situation and to whisk the whole bunch into Never Never Land. The calculated resistance to the New World Order, and the new Messiah will be question mark, question mark, question mark. I said that so wrong. The calculated resistance to the New World religion, the New World Order, and the new Messiah will be question mark, question mark, question mark on a massive scale in the ensuing holy wars. The Blue Beam Project will pretend to be the universal fulfillment of the prophecies of old, as nature and even as that which took place 2,000 years ago. I find that kind of humorous, and I'm going to tell you why. First, what they're trying to do is they're trying to cause a disillusion to where everyone's going to think that, their religion is false, yada, 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 right? But then they're going to use the Word of God, the Bible, to bring about a false rapture per se, but they've already said that people are not going to believe. It makes no sense. Maybe I'm overthinking. I probably am. In principle, it will make use of the sky as a movie screen, hence the chemtrails and the nanobots, not the nanoparticles. A space based laser generating satellite projects simultaneous images to the four corners of the planet in every language and in every dialect, according to region. It deals with the religion aspect of the New World Order and is a large scale seduction. Computers will coordinate the satellite, and software will run the show and tell. Holography is based on very nearly identical signal, combining to produce an image or hologram with deep perception, which is equally applicable, question mark, question mark, question mark, to ELF, VLF, and LF waves. It is an optical phenomenon. Specifically, the show will consist of laser projection of multiple holographic images to different parts of the world, each receiving a different according to the predominating regional, national, religious faith. Not a single area will be excluded. With computer animation and sound effects appearing to come from the depths of space, astonished followers of the various creeds will witness their own returned Messiah in spectacularly convincing lifelike realness. Then the projection of the Christ, of Muhammad, Buddha, Krishna, etc., will emerge into one after question mark, question mark, question mark. Explanation of the mysteries, prophecies, and revelation will have been disclosed. This one God, small g, will in fact be the Antichrist, who will explain the various scriptures have been misunderstood, that the religions of all are responsible for turning brother against brother, nation against nation. Therefore, the world's religions must be abolished to make way for the golden age, new age of the one world religion, representing the one God, small g, Antichrist. In this instance, they see before them. Naturally, let's see, what is that over here? Hold on. Well, down below, this is what it says. Here are 3 statements from the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. So I'm just going to go ahead and read that, and then we'll go back to the book. When the hour strikes for our sovereign Lord of all the world to be crowned, it is these same hands, the mob, which will sweep away everything that might be a hindrance thereunto. Protocol number 3. Ever since that time, French Revolution, we have been leading the peoples from one disenchantment to another, so that in the end they should turn also from us in favor of that king despot of the blood of Zion, whom we are preparing for the world. Protocol number 3. However, it is probably all the same to the world who is its sovereign Lord, whether the head of Catholicism or our despot of the blood of Zion. Protocol 4. That's the publisher's note. Naturally, this superbly staged, question mark, falsification will result in social religious disorder on a grand scale, including millions of programmed religious fanatics through demonic possession cases on a scale never seen before. In addition, this event will occur at a time of great political anarchy and general tumult at the age of something big. Almost feel like that's coming on now. The United Nations, even though it plans to use the Beethoven Song of Joy as the official anthem for the New World Order. Now, if we put this space show in parallel with the Star Wars program to get this, we get this. Combinations of electromagnetic radiation and hypnosis have also been the subject of intensive research. In 1974, for instance, researcher G.F. Shapis said of one of these research proposals and this investigation, quote, "It will be shown that the spoken word of the hypnotist may also become varied by modulated electromagnetic energy directed into the question mark, spot of the human brain without employing any technical device for receiving or transmitting the message." I think that's talking about the pineal gland, what some call the third eye. I could be wrong, but I'm thinking that very spot of the human brain without employing any technical device for receiving or transporting the message, and without the person exposed to such influence having a chance to control the information input consciously. It may be expected that they rationalize their behavior and consider it to be undertaken out of their own free will. Unquote. Really? It may be expected that they rationalize their behavior and consider it to be undertaken out of their own free will. Anybody investigating so-called channeling phenomena right now would be wise to take this area of research into consideration. It is interesting to note the fact that the number of people who consider themselves channelers have escalated rapidly since this type of research was conducted. It is uncanny how similar their messages are, regardless of which entity they claim to be the source of their divine guidance. It would suggest that any individual considering the content of channeled information should be discerning and critically evaluate where the message they are receiving or considering it empowering or would serve to invoke thought patterns beneficial to the New World Order. Let me reread that. It is uncanny how similar their messages are, regardless of which entity they claim to be the source of their divine guidance. It would suggest that any individual considering the content of channeled information should be discerning and critically evaluate where the message they are receiving or considering it empowering or would serve to invoke thought patterns beneficial to the New World Order. The Sydney Morning Arrow published an item on March 21st, 1983, which asked, and it has question mark, question mark, question mark. The article states that a paper entitled "The Soviets Are Invading the Human Mind" has been submitted to the newspaper foreign editor by Dr. Nathan Ebb, question mark, assistant professor in the question mark, in Egypt. It is worth quoting the article at length, even though his grammar is a little old. This article relates with the subject, who manufactured the advanced computer we were talking about a few minutes ago, and which is really important, because these kinds of computers can be around through satellite into space. The computers were fed, as we said as well, with the different languages and their meanings. The dialect of the people has been fed from the Nature Truth satellite. The Soviets started to feed the computer with objective program. Today, we're not talking about the Soviets, we're talking about the United Nations, the New World Order's people. They're the ones who feed the computer right now with objective programs. Also, the editor of the column in which the article was printed even states, "We think it makes sense too important to ignore." I think that it is a considerate way of putting it. One disturbing possibility, given all the information we have at hand, is that the individuals involved in this potential mind control operation could then sell the program and not even be aware that they are conducting such an operation. Now, figure it out how far they can go right now. Now, these techniques pushed us toward the third step of the NASA Blue Beam project that goes along with the telepathic electronical two-way communication, where ELF, VLF, and LF waves will reach the people of the earth by the inside of their brain, making each one to believe that his own God, small g, is talking to each one from within his own soul. I really believe this has a lot to do with the chemtrails and the metals and all that they put in the food and the beauty products and the lotions, all that. This is just my opinion, guys. Such waves from satellite are fed from the memory of the computer, which store a lot of data from the human being and the languages. These waves will then interlace and interweave with the natural thinking to form what we call artificial talk. Now, what kind of technology goes into the 1970s, the 1980s, and 1990s research where the human brain has been compared to a computer? Information is fed in, processed, integrated, and our response is then formulated and acted upon. Mind controllers manipulate information in the same manner as a computer for grammar manipulates information. In January 1991, the University of Arizona hosted a conference titled The NATO Advanced Research Workshop on Current and Emergent Phenomena in Biomolecular Systems. What does that mean, actually? Exactly. I'm sorry. What does that mean exactly? That means this. If we refer to one paper that was delivered at the conference, stood out for its different attitude toward the development under discussion at that time. It was, in fact, a protest and a chilling warning to the attending scientists about the potential abuse of the research findings. Now, what does that paper mean and state? It states that the United States has communication equipment which can make the blind see, the deaf hear, and the lame walk. It can relieve the terminally ill of all pain without the use of any drugs. And I'm not talking about science fiction over here. A man might retain the use of all his faculties up until the day of his death. This communication equipment depends on the new way of looking at the human brain and the neuromuscular system and radiation pulse at ultra low frequency. Some of this equipment is now operational within the Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI. It will never be used to make the blind see and the deaf hear and the lame walk because it is central to the domestic political agenda and foreign policy of the late President Bush. Domestically, the new communications equipment is being used to torture and murder persons who match profiles imagined, to be able to screen a given population for terrorists, to torture and murder citizens who belong to organizations which promote peace and development in Central America, to torture and murder citizens who belong to organizations opposed to deployment and the use of nuclear weapons, and to create a race of slaves called automatons, or what is popularly called the Manchurian Candidate. Overseas experimentation is taking place on by the United States and Canada, Great Britain, Australia, Germany, Finland, and France. In addition, there has been a long series of among British computer scientists of all who have some connection to the United States Navy. What is possible to ask here in front of such a psychology of terror as this? Would any government, corporation, or psychiatrist willfully promote such horror today? The answer is quite obviously yes. Government agencies and the corporations that work with them toward New World Order are prepared to promote anything that will help them to achieve their objective of total social control. As for the question of why, for one thing, if you terrify the public and make them fear for their safety, they will allow you to implement draconian law enforcement practices, disarm them, and keep extensive records on them, and they only have to tell you, well, that's all in order to protect you, of course. And secondly, it promotes the decay of the current form of democratic political system and leads societies to search for alternatives to current political methodology. Of course, the alternative has already been planned. It is called the New World Order. And it won't have your safety or interest at heart. As George Bush said, read my lips. Fear has always been used by powerful elite to control and subjugate the masses. The old maxim, divide and conquer, is being played out to the limit in every corner of the planet to ensure that everybody is frightened for their personal safety and scared or suspicious of those around them. This, too, it is called mind control. Now, to go a little bit further, in that new technology, which is at the basis of the NASA Blue Moon Project, we have to consider this quote from psychologist James V. McConnell, which was published in a 1970 issue of Psychology Today. He said, quote, "The day has come when we can combine sensory deprivation with drugs, hypnosis, and astute manipulation of reward and punishment to gain almost absolute control over an individual's behavior. It should be then possible to achieve a very rapid and highly effective type of positive brainwashing that would allow us to make dramatic change in a person's behavior and personality," unquote. Now, when we talked before about what kind of rays and the telepathic electronic two-ways communication, The kinds of rays which are fed from the memory of computers, which store a lot of data about the human being and the languages. And we said that the people of the earth will be reached by the inside of the brain, making each one to believe that his own God, small g, is talking to each one within his own soul. We refer to that kind of technology and that kind of thinking. That same psychologist said, quote, we should reshape society so that we all would be trained from birth to know what to do, what societies want us to do. We have the techniques to do it. No one owns his own personality, unquote. And this quote here is real important because it is also basic teaching from the United Nations that no one owns his own personality. The same psychologist adds, quote, you have no say about what kind of personality you acquire, and there's no reason to believe you should have the right to refuse to acquire a new personality if your old one is antisocial, unquote. What is important in that kind of declaration here? If the NWO will be set up over the old one, that means that the old way of thinking, the way we think right now, our behavior, our religious beliefs will be considered by those people as old thinking, an old way of living, and they will have to change it. The re-education camps of the United Nations to make sure that people will have for them an antisocial behavior, which is today an actual one, will be re-educated in a way to have the new behavior to fulfill the needs of the NWO. Might it be the largest mind control project ever? Because NASA Blue Beam Project is also for the implementation of a new world religion, a mind control project. So I would suggest you examine the evidence carefully before you disregard this possibility. Now, if we go further in the different reports we have over here, we find this. The mind control operation and technology include a transmitter which broadcasts at the frequency of the human nervous system, which system is manufactured by the Laurel Electro-Optical System in Pasadena, California. Laurel, a major defense contractor, had previously conducted research on directed energy weapons due for Lieutenant General Leonard Perez of the U.S. Air Force, who was searching for a weapon to implant messages into the minds of the enemy and to urge his own truth onto superhuman deeds of valor. The device employs electromagnetic radiation of gigahertz, I don't know what that is, frequency pulse at extremely low frequency, ELF. It is used to torture people both physically and mentally from a distance. Weapons of this type are claimed to have been used against a British woman protesting the presence of American cruise missiles at Greenham Common Air Base during the 1970s. This weapon can be used to induce total sensory deprivation by broadcasting signals into the auditory nerves at such a power that it blocks the victim's ability to hear themselves think. This device has taken the concept of the old phrase, it is so noisy in here I can't hear myself think, and turned it into a powerful weapon of terror. The process employed by such ELF technologies are described in various U.S. Defense Department publications, including one entitled The Electromagnetic Spectrum and Low-Intensity Conflict by Captain Paul E. Tyler, medical, United States Navy, which is included in a collection entitled Low-Intensity Conflicts in Modern Technology, edited by Lieutenant Colonel David, U.S. Air Force. The paper was delivered in 1984 and the collection published in 1986 by Air University Press, Maxwell Air Force Base, Alabama. Move this because it gets hot, guys. Okay. Quote, another pulse microwave device can deliver audible signals directly to an individual while they remain undetectable by anyone else. The technology is very simple and can be built using an ordinary police radar gun. The microwave beam generated by the device is moderated at audio frequencies and can broadcast voices directly into the brain, unquote. And here we come for that NASA Blue Beam Project, as we were talking about at the beginning. The telepathic electronic two-way communications from space goes exactly with that kind of technology. Also, you got so many like crazy instances, red flags, what do you want to say, where people will go kind of crazy and shoot people, and then they'll say that they heard a voice in their head telling them to do it. Guys, think about it. It's the government putting these thoughts into different individuals' minds to do these things in order to what did we read out of the other book or pamphlet or whatever? They need to take our arms from us. They need to. And how do they do that? By creating these instances, let's say. Okay, let's keep going. All right, let's see. I repeat here, the microwave beam generated by the device is modulated at audio frequencies and can broadcast voices directly into the brain. In his book, The Body Electric, Nobel Prize nominee Robert Becker described a series of experiments conducted in the early 1960s by Olenfree, where this phenomena was first demonstrated as well as later experiment. Question mark, question mark, question mark. In 1973, at the Walter Reed Army Institute of Research by Dr. Joseph C. Sharp, who personally underwent tests in which he proved he could hear and understand spoken words delivered to him in an echo-free isolation chamber via a pulse microwave audiogram. An analog of the word sound vibration beamed into his brain. Becker then goes on to state, quote, such a device has obvious application in covert operation designed to drive a target crazy with voice or deliverable undetectable instruction to a programmed asset, unquote. Now, figure out when we talk about that new Messiah from space would be talking to different religious and faith people on earth by the inside who would give such kind of instruction, like to Muslim people, what kind of possession case and kind of social disorder on a larger case scale ever seen before we would see everywhere on the planet. Let me reread that. Now figure out. When we talked about that new Messiah from space, we'll be talking to different religious and faith people on the earth by the inside who would give such a kind of instruction, like to Muslim people, what kind of possession case and kind of social disorder on a large case scale ever seen before we would see everywhere on the planet. In 1978, book entitled Microwave Auditory Effects and Applications by James C. Lim explains how audible voices can be broadcast directly into the brain. This technology could be used to make the deaf hear, but instead it has been turned against the public. Olenfree also reported that he could speed up, slow down, or stop isolated frogs' hearts. That's what I was talking about earlier. By synchronizing the pulse rate of a microwave beat with the beat of the earth itself. According to Robert Becker, similar results have been obtained using live frogs, indicating that it is technically feasible to produce heart attacks, which are rays designed to penetrate the human chest. And I believe that's what happened to this Serge Monast. I should mention also that Becker does not participate in such research. It has been demonstrated that focused ultra-high frequency, UHF, electromagnetic energy beams can be used to induce considerable agitation and muscular or induce muscular weakness and lethargy. Microwaves can also be used to burn human skin and aid the effect of drugs, bacteria, and poisons, or affect the functioning of the entire brain. These effects were all studied at length by the CIA on September 21st, 1977, in testimony before the Senate Subcommittee on Health and Scientific Research. Dr. Sidney, wow, I know that person's name because how interesting is this? I just ordered his book. Okay. Dr. Sidney Gottlieb, who directed the MK Ultra program at that time, was forced to discuss aspects of the CIA's research to find technique of evacuation of human organs by remote electronic means. So this is something that exists right now, that has been pushed to its highest degree, and that can be used from space by satellite to reach anybody on the planet. If we go a little bit deeper in that kind of process and mind control over the people, we find for the year 1988 this: the equipment and technology, that kind of technology of mind control, has been used to influence politics in a much more direct fashion. Michael Dukakis, the Democrat presidential candidate running against George Bush in the 1988 U.S. election, was targeted with a microwave technology in order to impede his public speaking performance. When the opinion polls, he posed a threat to Bush's election prospect. He also claims that the equipment was used against Kitty Dukakis and drove her to the brink of suicide. In the grisly Disneyland world of U.S. politics, a presidential candidate with problems such as those two dealt with obviously stand to lose the race to the White House. What I can add over here about those kinds of new mental battlefields that will be used in the NASA Bluebeam Project to implement the New World Religion is this. In the December 1980 edition of the U.S. Army Journal, which is called Military Review, an article by Lieutenant Colonel John B. Alexander entitled "The New Mental Battlefield, Beam Me Up, Spock," provides further insight into the technical capabilities now at the disposal of the controllers. He writes, quote, "Several examples will demonstrate areas in which progress has been made. The transference of energy from one organism to another. The ability to heal or cause disease can be transmitted over a distance, thus inducing illness or death for no apparent cause. The telepathic behavior modification, which includes the ability to induce hypnotic states up to distances in excess of 1,000 kilometers, has been reported. The use of telepathic hypnosis also holds great potential. This capability could allow agents to be deeply planted with no conscious knowledge of their programming and, the Manchurian candidate, and does not even require a phone call." They were already doing this during the Vietnam War. They did that to our Navy SEALs, by the way, and they became cannibals to cause fear in the Vietnamese people. Research it. Other mind-to-mind induction techniques are being considered. If perfected, this capability could allow the direct transference of thought via telepathy from one mind or group of minds to a select target audience. The unique factor is that the recipient will not aware that thought has been implanted from an external source. He or she will believe the thoughts are original, unquote. This is exactly what we're talking about, and the third step of the NASA Bluebeam project calls the telepathic electronic two-way communication, and the article continues, quote, "If it is possible to feed artificial thoughts into the genetic via satellite, the mind control of the entire planet is now possible. An individual's only resistance to constantly question the motivation behind their thoughts and not act upon thoughts they consider to be outside the boundaries of their own ethical and moral boundaries," unquote. Once again, it is wise to consider how television, advertising, and various forms of social pressure are constantly being used to manipulate those boundaries. And another thing, which is really important over here, dealing with that kind of technology, is this. It has been reported by Lieutenant Colonel Alexander, who said in the summary of his Military Review article, quote, "The information on those kinds of technology presented here would be considered by some to be ridiculous, since it does not conform to their view of reality. But some people still believe the world is flat." Yeah, I do. Unquote. Now, this means a lot, because if people do not believe that kind of technology to be possible, or this kind of technology we're talking about is just science fiction, those people put themselves in jeopardy because when the night of the thousand stars will shine from the space during that night, when the new Messiah and the new world religion will be implemented on the planet, those people won't have time to prepare themselves, and they will not be prepared to preserve themselves against such kind of technology. That's why they put themselves in jeopardy, because they don't believe, they don't take time to prepare, and this is something real dangerous. Now we're going to talk about the fourth step of the NASA Bluebeam Project. Now, the fourth step concerns the universal supernatural manifestation with electronic means. It contains three different orientations. One is to make mankind believe that an alien invasion is about to strike down on each major city of the earth in order to push each major nation to its nuclear to strike back, to use its nuclear to strike back. This way, it would put each of these nations in a state of full disarmament in front of the United Nations after the false attack. The second is to make the Christians believe to a major rapture, the supposedly divine intervention of an alleged good alien force coming to save the people from a brutal satanic attack. Its goal is to get rid of all significant opposition to the New World Order. The third orientation in the fourth step is a mixture of electronic and supernatural forces. The waves used at that time will allow supernatural forces to travel through optical fiber coaxial cable. The one used for cable TV, electric and phone lines in order to penetrate everywhere on electronic equipment. Appliances will be already installed with microchips. I think this right here was written before the 5G, the 4G, the 3G, the 2G, the wireless communication. I believe so, because we got that. We don't need no cable. We don't need no cable. We don't need no outlet, for goodness sakes. Electricity is in the air. It is free, but, they charge us for it. So let me reread that. The third orientation in the fourth step is a mixture of electronic and supernatural forces. The waves used at that time will allow supernatural forces to travel through optical fiber coaxial cable. They don't need that. The one used for cable TV, electric and phone lines in order to penetrate everywhere on electronic equipment. Appliances will be already installed with microchips. The goal of this one deals with global satanic ghost, specter, all around the world in order to push all population on the edge to drown into a wave of suicide, killing, and permanent psychological disorders. Then after that night of the thousand stars, humanity is going to be ready to implore any new Messiah to reestablish peace everywhere at any cost, even at the cost of freedom, abdication. Now, which is interesting to note this over here, the technique used in that fourth step is exactly the same used in the past in the USSR to force the people to accept communism. The same technical wave will be used by the United Nations to implement the New World Religion in the New World Order. A lot of people ask me when this is going to happen and how they are going to do it, which are the steps they're going to set up before that night of the thousand stars, 1,000 points of light. Remember? According to a different research and different reports that we get, they are thinking right now of an economic crash, not a complete crash that would put down all the economy, but an economic crash that would force them, that will also have them as a pretext to come up with an in-between currency. Yeah, digital. That means a new kind of currency that would be in between the currency that we have right now and the electronic cash. Now, what they want to do with the in-between currency is to force everybody who has some money in reserve everywhere to spend that money, because they consider that they will have problems to implement the New World Order. If somewhere there are some people independent who can survive by themselves, so they have to put the people in a way to force them to spend everything and absolutely everything they have. That's why they want to start with a kind of organized economic crash to put up a new currency. And after that, they're planning to put on worldwide basis the electronic cash. But right now, it is not possible for them to put that electronic cash, since the superhighway, what we call also the electronic highway, is not ready and implemented all over the planet, and it is now. To implement the electronic cash worldwide, they have to have finished the implementation of the superhighway everywhere. And for people wondering what the superhighway is exactly, The superhighway is an electronic, sophisticated way to control directly the people in every home will be implemented or installed. To that stage, the political control of everybody on the planet will be used. Wi-Fi, the internet, cell phones, you name it, the Alexas, all of that stuff. To prevent any kind of independence from the people, we have to remember that the New Agers, the New World Order people, will do anything to make sure that everybody before the year 2000 will have spent all his personal and reserve cash on goods, which, that hasn't happened yet, but it is happening. To prevent also any kind of independence, the New World people will have already started all over the planet to put into birds, fish, and wild animals microchip implants, already done. Why? Because they want to make sure that for the people who won't accept the NWO, they won't be able to fish or hunt anywhere, because the day they would try in the wilderness to make some fishing and hunting, the day they would catch a fish or an animal with a microchip implant, they would be traceable by satellite, absolute everywhere. Those same people, to make sure of full control of everybody, are changing laws of different countries right now to make sure they will have full control of the vitamins. They are also changing laws right now about religion and also about psychiatric disorders in order to consider anybody with a violent potential as somebody who has psychiatric disorder and has to be put in a clinic to be reeducated. If you keep in mind that this New World Order, New World Government is a worldwide dictatorship, you cannot forget that a dictatorship will do everything possible to make sure they will be in a position to control anybody everywhere on the planet. That's why the kind of new technology they're putting on right now everywhere is a technology for control of the people. If you take, for instance, the technology that we had in the 1940s and the 1950s, that kind of technology was made to help the people for an easier life. But the new technology, if you take the time to look at computers, microchips, new microchip cars, superhighway, you'll notice, and this is evident, you'll notice that all the technology is built in a way to track down and control everybody or anybody everywhere. And as that kind of technology is made in such a way, it's made also for a purpose. To refuse to see that purpose is not to want to see the evidence of a new kind of political power that want to establish themselves all over the planet. Now, at the end of this conference, I want to apologize to everybody's my difficulties, my problem with English speaking, because as a Canadian journalist, I'm also from the eastern part of Canada, which is French speaking country. I hope that even if I have problems with pronunciation or a French accent in my speaking, I hope it will be possible for everybody at least to understand the meaning of this conference and also the real meaning of the NASA Bluebeam Project. And as I asked everybody everywhere who will be listening, that they make everything possible to spread the words everywhere about that kind of new technology, which exists right now into space and which exists for the purpose to implement the New World Religion, which is also the basic foundation of the New World Order government. Thank you and good night. And that ends that little pamphlet. And I did say I do have another book coming. It's called Ottawa something, and it is from Serge Monast. And that's not in yet, but that will be coming in, and then I will read that also. I think these things are very important to understand and to know. I do believe that. And I just do this by the grace of God, and hopefully inform all of us, because we need to know. You better know. My people perish for lack of knowledge. God gives us the ability to learn and understand and to research. We live in a day and age where there's no reason to be ignorant. There's just not. I'm sorry, but there's not. But anymore, though, they've gotten so in control of what is on the internet. If you don't have a certain browser that you can use and trust, you're going to be fed their lies, because they have rewritten history. They have changed things. It's just insane. It's just absolutely, absolutely insane. It really is. But God is good, and He is not the God of chaos. He is a God of order, and He will protect His own. He most certainly will. So Keep your eyes on Jesus, brothers and sisters, and your nose in the book, which is the Word of God. And let us embed the Word of God upon the tablets of our hearts, so you and I will not sin against God or be deceived. Have a great day.